So the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro are here. And I've already kind of talked about whether you should get an iPhone 11 if you have a XR and all the other things. And it's a pretty darn good phone. And here's the thing, I am going to do a full review here very shortly. But you know, as good as it is, and make no mistake, this is a good phone, it got some things wrong. I'm about to be very nitpicky here in the next couple of minutes, and I'm gonna tear this thing apart, tell you everything that they should have put into it. And if you agree, great. If you don't, that's fine. I'm gonna tell you everything right after this.
This is, you know you listening to Travis.
What up, players? Welcome back. And for all you new people, welcome. My name's Travis and I do tech videos every single week and have a blast doing them. If that sounds like fun to you, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Anything I talk about will be in the description below. But for now, let's just get into the video. Now, I've had this phone, the iPhone 11, for a couple of days now, and it's actually a pretty good phone. I know that there's a lot of people out there that either love or hate Apple, and you know, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's a good phone. It really is. But that doesn't mean it's perfect, and it doesn't mean there's not a lot of flaws with it. Much is the same with any phone, including my Galaxy Note 10 Plus that I use every day. Lots of flaws with that one as well. But there's some things here that Apple could have done to almost make this the perfect phone. Now, some of you are gonna say, no matter what it is, if Apple had anything to do with it, it can't be perfect. This video isn't for you. I'll get back to you again in a couple of weeks or something. I don't know. I don't know what to do with you guys. But legitimately, Apple could have done a couple of things, just a couple of things, to make this thing pretty unbeatable. There's already people out there saying this thing is going to contend for phone of the year, and I don't know if that's something that an Apple phone has ever done. Like, it's been kind of close, but typically it goes to like the Galaxy Note. This year, they were really close. I think they're really getting there. But let's just talk about a couple of things that they just, you know, they tripped across the finish line as far as I'm concerned. Number one, the LCD screen on the iPhone 11. I'm going to leave the iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max out of this because they have AMOLED. But the iPhone 11 has LCD. I'll admit, this is a really good LCD screen, and in a void, you wouldn't even know that it's not like the top end screen. If you don't compare it directly to an AMOLED, it's actually a really good screen. Having said that, there's really no excuse for this not to be an AMOLED screen. Some people will say, oh, well, it's a cost-cutting measure. That's bull. There are so many Android phones out there that cost substantially less than this that have an AMOLED screen. As a matter of fact, you can get a Samsung A20. I know, I hadn't heard of that one either. For under $200 with an AMOLED screen. Under $200. So at $700, this thing needs to have an AMOLED screen. Maybe it doesn't have to be the top end that the Max is, that they seem to let us think that they're especially picking the AMOLED screens for those, whatever. Give us the second hand ones. That's fine. Just put an AMOLED screen on this thing. Because it would make a difference. And to be honest, there's no reason to hold back. I'm sure LCD screens are cheaper for them and they'll definitely increase their profit. But at this point, $700, you can get an AMOLED screen. Most Android phones around $700, you're getting an AMOLED screen. The next big thing for me is the notch. As far as I'm concerned, there is no excuse for this. I get it. They're using it for Face ID. Come up with something else. The notch is ugly. And by the way, this is not an S year. It's not like the 10S, where the design pretty much stays the same. This is a new year. It's the 11. You know, it's supposed to look a little different. Now, sometimes they say that it takes a couple years cycle. I think it's 3 or 4 years, whatever the case may be. But I call BS, man. This thing should have no notch. None. My guess is they won't get rid of the notch until after they can put it underneath the screen. I mean, that'll be a great thing. But in the meantime, like, can we just go back to Touch ID without the notch? I mean, the notch just breaks up video and I don't like it. It's terrible. Do you guys actually like the notch? And for those of you that say, well, you get over it, you get used to it. I mean, I guess. Unless you've been using any of the Android phones made in the last year, then you never really ever get over it. And yes, if you're with Apple, you've been used to the notch, you're used to the notch. Just because you're used to something doesn't mean you should accept it year after year, especially if it's not top of the line. So Apple, figure it out. It's not my problem to fix your problem on how to put Face ID without a notch. You figure it out. You're the one getting all the money for it. USBC, I get it. Most of you are gonna say, don't need USB-C, Lightning's good enough. I get it. But listen, Apple's already using USB-C on other devices, so it's not like this is a brand new concept to them. If no other devices in their lineup had USB-C, I might agree with you. But that's not the case. In addition, there's already rumors that the next version of iPhone may actually get USB-C. It seems to me, with them putting a Lightning to USB-C cable in the box, that they might actually admit That's the future. So why are we waiting? What is the holdup? What literally is the holdup? Reverse wireless charge. Now we know that Apple doesn't typically put out the latest technology right away as soon as it's available. But I mean, reverse wireless charge has been out for a long time. It's not exactly new. And considering you can wirelessly charge your AirPods, it just makes sense. There's even rumors that they actually put it into the iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pros and just cut it at the last second, or maybe they just cut it at the last. What is it with wireless charging and Apple? They can't do AirPower, they can't do reverse wireless. I'm confused. Base storage at 64 gig. Nothing twists my nipples more than that. I can't. Again, this is not a cost-cutting measure. And for those of you rationalizing why this is okay, you are part of the problem. And not having a 128 gig option is just ridiculous. They have it for the iPhone 11, but not the Pro? Like, what's that about? Obviously, you're milking people out of more money. That's pretty shameful. And you know it's a thing. I mean, obviously you wouldn't jump from 64 to 256 for no apparent reason. And you put it in for the less price, the less expensive iPhone 11, so you know people would want it, and only for $50 on the low end. But as soon as you go high, forget 128. Don't start there. No. We're gonna start you at 64. And we only want $1,000 for it. Now, price is an interesting one because they actually figured it out correctly with the iPhone 11, pricing it at $700 even with 64 gigs, or $750 with 128, which I can get on board with that. But then after that, when you go to the Pro, you just immediately start getting into high numbers, $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 before tax. It's painful. Yes, the Apple tax is real. Just saying, you can cut us a break. You can cut us a break, Apple. Multitasking. Now I know there's a lot of you out there that are gonna agree with me on this one. And unless you've been in iOS for a long time, you know that's sorely missing on iOS. And for those of you that have only ever had an iPhone, you think you already have multitasking? You don't have multitasking. And while I agree, probably most people that are doing like split screen multitasking is actually a lot smaller than everyone in my comments seems to think. It's still a nice feature to have, and things like being able to minimize YouTube and then go do something else while YouTube's still playing. Yeah, for you people that are on iOS, that's actually a thing. Is really nice. I mean, I've had to jump out of YouTube and I wanted to continue to watch a video while I'm doing something else, maybe shopping on Amazon or something. It's really nice to be able to maybe watch a video review about a product and shop for it at the same time. What are we doing here? Can we make this happen, Apple? No always on display. I mean, they did it with the Apple Watch, but they didn't do it with the phone? Like, what is that? I don't even understand that. Now, some people will say you shouldn't do it on LCD. I don't know that I agree. Always on displays were on LCD phones before. It's not a new thing. But they do have AMOLED phones in the Pro line, and there's no always on display. Is this a small thing? Sure. Should it be on the Pro? Yes. And best I can tell, when I'm typing with this amazing haptic feedback that's in the phone, I don't feel it when I type. Maybe that's a setting somewhere, but it shouldn't be so difficult to turn on. Why do I have to try to figure out how to make this haptic thing happen when I'm typing? I like that on my Note. When I type and I can feel that I'm actually hitting the buttons, there's just something cool about it. Something that actually makes me feel like I'm actually communicating with the device. Here I tap on this thing and it's dead. It's just laying there. It's dead. It's just laying there. Terrible. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. If you've ever used any kind of Android phone with haptic feedback on typing, it's really super nice. And the haptic engine on this is supposed to be amazing, but you almost never use it. So what are we talking about here, Apple? All in all, it feels kind of like Apple just held back. They sandbagged us. They gave us a pretty darn good phone. Actually, let's not lie about this thing. It's actually a good phone, but held back on some things that are just, you would think, super simple to implement. Like almost lazy. Like they did some things and just not others, and I don't get it. But let me talk about one more thing that really is kind of irritating, especially if you got the phone on launch day. iOS 13 is buggy as crap. Let me tell you something. A lot of people on my comments and in Twitter and everywhere have talked about how iOS 13, the launching software, is just buggy. Now, there are some things like computer games and stuff where you expect a day one patch. This should not be the case with phones. This is a communication device, and for a lot of people, it's their lifeline to other things in the world. You can't be bugging people and crashing apps on people when they buy it. It's ridiculous. Sure, they're coming out with an update a week after launch, but that just means that they rushed the launch. They could have waited the launch one more week, got iOS 13.1 on there, and then shipped it. But no, someone had to launch the hardware first. Couldn't wait around for a better customer service experience. And you may say, well, maybe some of those bugs weren't found in testing. then why were they so quickly found after they launched? I don't buy that. So in my full review, I'm actually probably gonna be more positive than this video has been, and it is really a good phone, the iPhone 11 anyway. It's not terrible, but I just feel like they just tripped on the finish line. What else did they miss? Tell me in the comments below. I know some of you are very passionate about this, and you're not gonna forget anything. You're gonna put it all in the comments. You can put it down there. It just feels like a really great phone kind of tripped at the finish line. There were still some things that could have made it a really absolutely dominating phone. I mean, I really think that. And while the Android lovers are never gonna come to Apple and admit that it's a good phone, the reality is they were close. They were very close. But don't worry about it. They got another year at it. They're gonna try it again next year and charge you the same, or even more. If this video helped you out in any way, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if it didn't, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I'm here every single week, having a blast. Hope to see you again real soon. Peace and love, peace and love. And I'm out, baby.